Hello, I'm Pat Wattam with the Pat Wattam team here at Remexers. We're here with Bill Arey,
Hey.
my longtime friends and team members, great realtor.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about building wealth today because you know how much I'm a big proponent of creating wealth and, having money to retire. So one of the things I always tell people, first of all, maximize your retirement account, put all the money you can in there. And if you've got that taken care of and you've got your bills paid off so you're not carrying a lot of credit card debt, the time is then, I think, to step your game up,
Right.
and buy investment property. Now, I know y'all have owned investment property since Katrina,
Yeah, about 15 years now.
and then you've also flipped properties. So you kind of know the whole gamut, and you've helped a lot of our clients buy investment property. So what's one of the fears you think that most people have when they don't buy rental property soon enough? Because I know we didn't buy till I was, 50.
Well, I think people want immediate gratification or immediate payback on their investment. Let's take a look at two different things. Buying a rental house that you're going to have for a long term, which is that case with the rental house I have. Bought it right after Katrina. It's built up a lot of equity so far.
yeah.
It's been cash flow positive the whole time, which is nice. So thank you for finding the great deal back then. It's in a nice enough neighborhood where you want a house that will rent for a minimum of $1,200 a month, $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Most people are afraid of being a landlord, and I'll have to say after 15 years, I would say it hasn't been that bad. We've had some good tenants and a small handful of not so great tenants, but on whole, it hadn't been a nightmare by any means. It's been okay.
I have to say, we've had rental property for, oh my gosh, over, I guess we made the same about 18, 20 years, whatever. And I think we've only had one case of, throw them out because they were drug dealers.
Right.
But we didn't have a lot of issues with that either. So I think a lot of people are afraid that it's going to be this big issue, but neither one found it to be that.
Right. So that scenario, you have to be in it for the long term. All of a sudden, wow, 15 years has gone by.
Buy and hold,
And
not paid for.
And there's like maybe 5 years left on the mortgage payout because we didn't go 30-year, we refinanced it to 15-year. So that's the good news on that. Flipping houses is a different deal.
Story.
And it's not as easy as on TV.
No, in fact, we've seen a lot of clients make huge mistakes flipping property because they didn't. Well, as you and I talked earlier, you got to buy right. You got to buy right.
You make the money or you lose the money, typically when you buy it to begin with.
And I always feel like I'm a buy and hold kind of person. I like to buy my real estate. I like to hold it. I guess I'm a hoarder. I like to collect things. And somebody is buying my house for me. Those renters are paying my mortgage. And like you said, I always put 20% down when I buy.
Right.
Because I want it to cash flow from day one. And I like to have at least $400 a month positive cash flow. That is not any number that you hear about being plugged into ROI or any of those things. This is Pat Wattam's personal idea. If I got $400 positive a month, I got money to pay.
Or roughly $5,000 a year.
Which takes care.
That's going to cover some contingencies that come up, some maintenance things.
Yeah, down the road, if I need a new roof, I've got the money for the roof. If I've got some repairs or some updates, I've got some cash for that. Or, pay it off.
Right.
So that's.
And depreciation is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I know nothing. That's you and Roger. Y'all do those kind of things. I just buy pretty and hold, and it pays for itself in the end.
But back to flipping houses, it's tough. Seems like if you're the type that can do a lot of the work yourself, you might do all right.
I think you have to have. I think the biggest issue most people have is unless you're flipping a lot of properties, you don't have the manpower.
The scale, the manpower, the people that work for you constantly
Right.
doing that.
And they'll do a good price for you because I've got to go hire a contractor today for this. He's not going to give me a special deal because I'm doing 10 houses with him. He's going to give me the price for one house. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've seen are people thinking I can do this myself and not asking their realtor. I have clients who'll say, hey, Pat, take a look at this property. What do you think? I don't mind giving them my 2 cents.
Right.
Because if they're going to sell it, they're going to use me as their listing agent, so I don't care about giving them some 2 cents. And then spending money where they didn't need to spend it.
Right.
That's probably the biggest issue I've seen with people flipping houses. They're thinking they got to make it.
And particularly if they're in a neighborhood that doesn't warrant that, they won't get their money back
Right.
on that.
And we've seen people that have hired us that are professional flippers who made mistakes too, who overdid a house for a neighborhood. I mean, if everybody in the neighborhood has granite, you got to have it. If no one has granite, you don't have to have granite. I mean, we got to watch where our money is spent.
Right. So we haven't talked about multifamily housing.
Oh, my favorite.
That's that other sector.
Oh, yes, my favorite, yes.
So that's certainly monthly income producing possibility. But those aren't going to, at least with houses, you're going to get some appreciation in their intrinsic value over the years.
Yes.
Fourplexes, I don't know.
Depends. Well, it depends on where they are.
Yeah.
And I think, just like anything else, it's location. But I would say our first purchase was that sixplex we have in Capitol Heights.
Yeah.
And that was because I calculated, again, all these numbers that you're supposed to calculate, I didn't calculate any of this. I figured if I had 4 of them rented, the notes covered. So I didn't really, so I figured that was a slam dunk.
And you had a third left.
Yes. So that to me was easier to do than thinking of a house if the house is not rented. Oh my gosh, I have no income for until it rents again.
And again, you're in a great area.
Well, it's buying
in Capitol Heights.
Yeah.
So that was a slam dunk.
Yes,
so,
it was. And I've seen people buy in areas where the flood insurance was required on the property, fourplexes, but they made a lot of money on those properties because they bought right. They put their 20% down. Cash flow's great, so they could afford even to pay the flood insurance. So I mean, it really is about buying right with the numbers. Then what are some of the ways that you've helped buyers? Because we have a lot of buyers who are investors to mitigate, or to lessen, I should say, to lessen their fear of jumping into the market, such as, I mean, a lot of times we tell them, put a home warranty on it.
All right. That's the easiest thing. Just put that in as one of your expenses to cover the higher cost things.
Yes.
But it's just important to have a real clear understanding about all your numbers, the income and the expenses, and when it's all said and done, what's the profit going into your pocket at the end of the month?
We like the profit, and we like to spend buying the property. We have a property right now over in Plaquemine. We have 2 fourplexes over there. The cash flow is absolutely amazing. It's amazing how many people contact us about that, and it's a little further out of their realm. Now, have you used any leasing companies to help you with your
I have not personally.
Yeah. We turned a couple of ours over to a leasing company. Remax has a really great company now, just to so that we didn't have to deal with anything when we were traveling. It was mainly when we were going out of town. But
right, it's a matter of how many units you have too. On a smaller scale, you can manage them yourself without too much hassle. But once you get up to a certain number, it's
plus the fact that if you own them free and clear, you've got that little extra bit of cushion that you can pay that 8 or 10% fee every month.
It's worth it.
It's worth it, just
for sure.
Yeah, not to have a big headache. So I think that's one of the issues, to put a home warranty on it, and not to be afraid to hire somebody. If you decide to buy rental property, we'll be glad to help you decide who you should hire.
Yeah, and have a good, strong lease agreement.
Yes, a good, strong.
It's fair for both parties, and everybody's going to abide by that lease.
Yes, and to know the rules and regs. So, one of the things we like in our leases is that basically you don't pay, you move out. Let's just bypass all this other stuff. You don't pay, get out. Let's part friends from day one. So that we haven't even had that issue. I think we've owned property for all these years, and I think we've only had that issue once or twice.
Right.
And we never, knock on wood,
now,
we've never had.
You have a different sector too. You have vacation rental.
Totally different
on
thing.
The beach.
Yes,
right.
that's a whole nother
that's
market.
Short-term rentals
and
for the most part.
And they make a lot more money than our local rentals do. I mean, we'll make $30,000 down there on a property, where here we'll make our $12,000-15,000, I guess, a year income. So it's a total different thing. But the risks are much higher.
Right. It's always risk and reward.
Yes.
How much risk are you willing to take for a higher reward?
Yes, because if you have a hurricane at the beach and you're out of service for over a year, sometimes it's 2 years, you still got to pay the monthly note and you have no income coming in if you own it free and clear. Again, the key thing is, when you get to the point where you can own these things free and clear, really a lot of the risk goes away, which is what I've always said, So that's my 2 cents. But again,
with that in mind, getting started in it, the earlier, the better.
But like I said, we didn't start till I was 50, so.
Right.
And so I think the main thing is having enough cash flow so you can pay these things off in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got a great retirement. I mean, if you figure out, all this has to do is figuring out what you want in retirement, because you've got your, hopefully, Social Security. Hopefully you've got some kind of, what's it called, pension with your company you've been working for. If you're like a self-employed, we got to make our own up. But you got to figure out how much money you want, and could owning 2 rental properties bring you in another $25,000 a year?
Because in terms of income producing investment options, I don't think there's anything better than real estate for a steady 8 to 10 to higher return on your investment.
Right.
In actual cash,
Right.
actual money,
And
not
you,
on paper.
And you actually own something that's tangible that you can touch. And you have insurance to cover, you know, catastrophes, you know, tornado or whatever.
Right.
So I'm just saying, I just think it's something you have in hand. In fact, I know my financial advisor told me from day one, yes, buy more rental property. You know, have a nice portfolio. You've got your retirement money, you've got your savings, and then you've got your nice rental property. So I do believe the road to wealth building is through real estate. Now, we're lucky in Baton Rouge that we don't, I say lucky, we don't have 30% increases in our property values like they had in California or Vegas or Phoenix, and we didn't.
Right, we don't have these high rises and crashes.
And the crashes. So our market's pretty steady. So that's why it really is to me more of a buy and hold market as opposed to a flipping market.
Right.
And I think you sold a house after Katrina to some investor from Vegas, and he wanted to sell about 3 years later. And going, really, I mean, 3 years is not long enough in Louisiana, in my opinion, or in Baton Rouge, to make money on a property. Right. You've got to own it for a good 6-7 years to start making money, and 10 years to make decent money, which is why I like to buy and hold. Yes, hold on to my money.
Well, for any of y'all out there considering or interested in the thought of learning more about investing in real estate, we'd love to sit down with you and talk numbers and talk concepts and theory. And
they can even talk to Roger. Roger manages ours, and if y'all know Roger, he's very quiet spoken, but he can do a lot of repairs, but he also can tell you, you know, the ins and outs of he can now spot a renter that he shouldn't rent to based on some criteria that he uses that makes sense with numbers. And
all of them are going to have bad credit.
Yeah, everybody has bad credit.
But
that's why they're
they have to be employed, and they have to, you know,
and
have to have an employment
income,
record. Right.
And enough income to cover the rent, because if you get somebody who's making $1,500 a month, and
right, it can't be 80% of their take-home pay.
Or they're not going to make it. So anyway, but Bill's right. Give us a call, 225-298-6900, and we'll be glad to talk to you about owning rental property, creating wealth, and give you our 2 cents and see if it fits you. We have some properties getting ready to come on the market pretty soon that are perfect in that sweet spot for me for rental property, which, you know, mine's like 150 to 165 is great place to get in a decent neighborhood. We do have clients who buy strictly for school district, and they're going to be more in the 250 range, if I'm not mistaken, on those people. So there's a wide gamut. It's about how much cash you have to put down, what kind of clientele you want to be dealing with.
Right.
So that's all. We have lots of things to share. Call us 225-298-6900, and we'll see you later.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Bill.
Sure. Okay. Great.